What's good? I hope everybody having a cool afternoon. And it's 12:20 over here in Detroit. Hope everybody having a cool afternoon. And we're gonna listen to Carl Jung again. I got like two videos we can go through, break down as we go, and hope somebody get to learn something. Like for those that's not up on Carl Jung, y'all need to look him up. Look up Alan Watts, Earl Nightingale, Carl Jung, Bobby Hemmett, Brother Panic. You know, you know, when you're going through it, you know what I'm saying? This is something to listen to. You know what I'm saying? And then after you're done listening to it and you gather your truth, you try to do what you love, music, art, literature, meditation, getting in tune with nature, but it's cold as hell outside. So, I might just meditate or just work on some music. Finally have some motivation to work on, like a track I'm about to send to, like Relentless. So like hopefully Relentless see his message. So let's who you go to it, go in there, lay down this verse, and we can drop this track. Um, Real talk. Shouts out to everybody. And lately I've been getting a whole bunch of laid back, a hip hop vibe type of beats. This is real cool. Shouts out to Jordan for the beat. You know what I'm saying? It's a nice beat. Nice. It's an understatement. It's a fire beat. you know. I just hope everybody having a cool time and sending positive energy to all those that need it. And I hope everybody is cool. The show must go on. Let's get it. We about to listen to Carl Jung. And we're gonna talk about confronting the shadow. And the other one is I forgot what the other one was, but first things first. You already know what we gotta do. Where we at? I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on, y'all. Damn, I went to the wrong playlist. My bad. Let's get it.
Smash your girl, beat it on her case. She's so freaky, put it on tape. Anti-hero, don't draw no cake. For the government, still on they face. Large round, taking off your face. Doing cops like JFK, not Jigsaw. I ain't playing no game. My chainsaw, I take your brain. I see chains, we changing those lanes. RPG, blow up every damn thing. Everything gonna turn into flame. Revolutionary, I don't play no game. I'm the god of the storm and flame. Y'all better ask about hurricane. Ancient times, ancient rhymes. They talk shit, but ain't shit flying. Y'all
Salute Philly OG, what up, dude?
With the Kung Fu foe. Blood circle blood, y'all about to get smoked. The motherfucker know the trigger.
Salute Philly OG, what's What's good? What's good?
Go bursting, go bursting, pull the trigger. Fuck around and get hurt, fuck that, fuck around and get murdered. What's that blood all over my shirt? It's a damn thing I put in that dirt. Going around putting in work, is it gonna be where the revolution gon' work? When the gun blast dead in front of your church, while I go back home smoking that perk. Time to ride, got another new mission on the side. 1979 will blow your mind. Buddy Parks is really gonna be hard to find. I am divine when I spit the rhyme. I am divine when I use the nine. I am divine with power spine. The least is gonna die tonight. Trigger. Gon' burst in. We gon' burst in. Pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Lord, tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Lord, tell me why they run the world. Tired of the praying, tired of the meditate, tired of you false prophets taken from the congregation, tired of United Nations, Council of Foreign Relations, controlling my population. Propaganda been here for ages. Evil reptilians, calling black people simians. Bitch, I'm an native Indian, Cherokee with the businesses. I don't think you're feeling this. Middle finger up to your government. The president's a motherfucking puppet, bitch. Tell lies to the motherfucking public. Democrats, Republicans, Supreme Court, summon dick. EPA, FDA, FCC on that sucker shit. Control the shit on TV. The radio is the same too. Everybody is fake, dude. They don't wanna hear that damn truth. That murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Lord, tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Lord, tell me why they run the world. Freedom is a state of mind. Take your time and redefine. Your peace of mind would be sublime, but it gotta be here, fuck afterlife. They keep us in fear every day and night. Cops killing brothers every day and night. So I gotta live every day and night. Watching my back with the green and white. CIA, NSA, watching us every day. Social media, internet, recording the words you fucking say. We're categorized in a long list. Label us terrorists. Most of y'all ain't aware of this, so you gotta prepare for this. Government shut down. Who gon' get them bucks now? Same evil bloodlines. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, control the war on both sides. We gon' wake up and realize these are the end times. Let's destroy their enterprise. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Lord, tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Tell me why they run the world. Murderers, liars, thieves, run the world. Powers that be, they run the world. Lord, tell me why they run the world. a bitch, the CIA is a bitch, the NSA is a bitch. I know you watching this shit, you fuck around and get hit. My rebels fully equipped to take the enemy down and ride out in their whip. And counting all of the chips, we about to go on the flight. World leaders get hit, assassination delight. We fly out through the night like Batman in this bitch. Outlandish with kicks, punches, and damage and shit. I call my gun Michael Knight, that bitch come with a kit. AI robotic weapons, that bitch been talking this shit. Explosive hollows exist and turn your body to mist. The god of fire is here, now welcome to the abyss. 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 The immovable one. Welcome to my domain. The chopper fed into pieces. Throw away the remains. Rapid fire you chains. Hear you screaming in pain. My pride water you flame. Disintegrate all you lanes. Your fans could never change. So I'm hunting you down. I know you got me surrounded. I'm still taking you out. I'm hacking shit with my phone. Turn out all of the lights. Popping cops as I go. I gotta do through the night. In the heat of the night. I keep the heat with the sight. You in your sleep as I snipe. While you sleep with your wife. I'm hopping from roof to roof. Ninja warrior shit. My RPG is equipped. Your helicopter got hit. I cause a solar eclipse. And send a fiery storm. Exploding government buildings. Revolution reborn. I am the shit, just admit. This is that warrior mix. The god of fire is here. Welcome to the abyss. 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 Welcome to the abyss.
We'll be bringing you our countdown to the end of days. Along with all, you will
Welcome to the abyss. Welcome to the abyss.
Phenom Rogue One production.
Show me my opponent. Where's my opponent? I'm a killer wrong, double bed, you don't want it, break. People to components, throw you in the ocean. Sleeping with the fishes, bitches, listen, I be on it. Start him while he's scoring. Pull off in the foreign. In 60 seconds, hit the gas, then I'm going, blowing like a river. Feeling like a winner. Grab a fine chick while they eat her for dinner. I've been on the mission. Never keep me slipping. Calling up the ghouls, every bustin' at a bed. Building in the lobby. Dropping bodies like a fucking brew. Weed whipping everybody. Show me my opponent. 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 This is my decision. Chilling like a villain. Cut you up the ribbons cause the government is tripping. Now I'm up in Cali. Chilling with this daddy. Going all in the baby girl. Call me daddy. Riding through the valley. Smoking on the fatty. About to get this girl 50 straight in Cincinnati. Gotta get this money. Get back to the money. Haters looking funny cause I shot him in the stomach. Motherfuckers want to battle. You the one to battle. Pulling out the shot and make your whole body rattle. Don't wanna hear the chatter. See your body shatter. Dealing with the hurricane. Everybody scatter. Show me my opponent. 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 Show me my opponent.
All right. Let's get off it to the Carl Jung. We'll probably do this one first.
Have you ever felt like the ground simply disappeared beneath your feet? As if the world kept spinning, people continued with their routines. But you were trapped in a deafening silence, as if something inside you had died, along with the one who left. No one prepares you for this. No one teaches you that grief is not just sadness. It is confusion. It is anger. It is guilt. It is the collapse of what you believed you were. Carl Jung said that the most important experiences in life are not chosen by us. They choose us. And grief is one of them. For Jung, death does not merely represent the end of a life, but the beginning of a profound symbolic process. The loss of someone can activate powerful archetypes within the psyche, leading the soul down a path that, although painful, carries within it the possibility of rebirth. Grief, when experienced with awareness, does not just wound, it transforms. It invites us to a forced pause, a moment where certainties dissolve, and, in their place, questions arise that we would never have asked in times of stability. This state of suspension between who we were and who we are not yet is fertile. It is there that the psyche begins to work, silently reorganizing meanings, seeking sense, preparing the ground for a new way of being. Most people will tell you to move on, to occupy your mind, to be strong. But the truth is that ignoring the pain only feeds the emptiness. Jung did not believe in numbing suffering. He believed in going through it, because it is in this process that you find something that has been lost for a long time: yourself. And if you are here, listening to this, it is because you may have already felt that call. Perhaps you have already dreamed of the one who left. You may have felt the presence in the silence. You may have wondered if there is something beyond the pain, some meaning, some purpose. This video is an invitation, not to escape the pain, but to dive into it with awareness, because only those who have the courage to traverse the dark night of the soul find the light that does not come from outside, but from within. If you are ready to face what grief really means, not as an end, but as the beginning of an inner journey, then keep watching, because what you will discover here can transform your relationship with loss, with life, and with yourself. When Carl Jung wrote the Red Book, he was not just formulating a new psychological theory. He was trying not to go insane. He was trying to survive an internal collapse so deep that it almost consumed him completely. After breaking with Freud and witnessing his inner life fragment, Jung voluntarily plunged into a state of confrontation with the unconscious, a process he described as his dark night of the soul. During this period, he did not seek rational answers, but allowed himself to listen to what emerged from the psychic depths, even when those images seemed chaotic, violent, or absurd. And it was in this dive, in this surrender to the unknown, that he understood something essential. Certain pains do not come to be avoided. They come to radically transform us. Grief, from this perspective, is not an emotional accident or an isolated event. It is a symbolic crossing of the soul, a rite of passage that tears us from our previous state of consciousness and hurls us into a new psychic configuration. When we lose someone we deeply love, we do not just lose the person themselves, we also lose the psychic representations they held within us. We lose the symbolic ground. Sometimes that person was the pillar of security, the emotional anchor, the reflection of our childhood, or even the envisioned future we had idealized. Grief deconstructs these foundations, revealing not only the emptiness of absence, but the internal collapse of everything that was unconsciously supported by that bond. And it is precisely in this abyss that transformation begins. An abyss that, although painful and often frightening, is also a portal. Jung believed that intense suffering opens cracks in the ego, and it is through these cracks that the self, the deepest and total instance of the psyche, can finally emerge. Pain, in this sense, is an alchemical agent. It dissolves the old forms of the self, unravels rigid narratives, and pushes the individual toward a new way of being. Like in ancient mythologies, where the hero descends into the underworld to face monsters and returns transformed, the grieving person, if they have the courage to remain conscious within the pain, undergoes an initiatory journey. They die to what they were and are reborn as something truer, more whole, more real. Death, as an archetype, has a psychic function. It represents the breaking of cycles, the interruption of patterns, the end of internal structures that no longer serve the evolution of the soul. And grief, as a manifestation of this symbolic death, is the process that reorganizes the psyche from this break. Emotional disorganization, helplessness, the feeling of losing meaning, all of this is part of a deep dynamic that is in motion within us. The soul is trying to heal, but for that, it first needs to dismantle itself. That is why Jung did not see grief as pathology. He recognized it as a sacred moment, an inevitable stage in the journey of individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are. But this process requires something that our modern culture has unlearned: presence, silence, listening. Not the listening from the outside, but the internal listening that connects us with what is most authentic and, often, most painful within us. Fleeing from grief is like interrupting a spiritual birth. It is wanting to leave the cave before the eyes adjust to the darkness. It is refusing to be born again. And every refusal of transformation comes at a price. Either the suffering is somatized, or it repeats itself disguised in other relationships, in other cycles of loss, in other voids. But what happens when we try to resist this process? When we cannot bear to lose control and seek to rationalize or suppress the pain? In the next part, we will dive precisely into this point: the illusion of control, and how the unconscious responds to this attempt at denial. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. We live in an era that idolizes control. From an early age, we are conditioned to organize, plan, manage, and anticipate. We believe that if we try hard enough, we can manage not only our commitments, but also our emotions, our relationships, and even the course of our existence. Culture teaches us that vulnerability is weakness, and that feeling too much is a kind of deviation from the norm. We create routines, lists, methods, and distractions to protect ourselves from the unpredictable. But then comes death, that silent presence, which does not ask for permission, which does not respect schedules, which arrives with the coldness of absolute events. And with it, everything that seemed solid collapses. Death destroys the illusion of control with surgical precision, and when it arrives, it brings with it a devastating revelation. We are radically powerless in the face of certain forces of life. No matter how much we prepare, no matter how hard we try to keep everything under control, there are events that bring us to our knees. For Jung, this collapse of the ego is not a mistake to be corrected. It is a calling, a forced invitation, yes, but deeply necessary for us to connect with what truly governs our lives, the unconscious. During mourning, the unconscious ceases to be a silent backdrop and becomes the protagonist. The rational structure that once organized our experience is weakened. And it is in this space of fragility that previously repressed content begins to emerge forcefully. Intense dreams, memories that seemed forgotten, disproportionate emotional impulses, nameless anxieties. All of this is the language of the soul trying to be heard, and it does not speak in logical sentences. It speaks in symbols, images, sensations. If we try to suffocate or rationalize this movement, we are resisting the very process of healing. Jung taught that the unconscious is wiser than the ego, although its wisdom does not follow common logic. It is not an enemy. It is a partner. Mysterious, yes, often frightening, but essential for the psyche to become more whole. And mourning, with its archetypal weight, is one of the most fertile situations for this dialogue to occur. Therefore, the emotions that arise during this period, anger, guilt, fear, deep sadness, should not be controlled or judged. They are messages. They are signs that something very important is trying to reorganize itself within us. However, we have been taught to resist, to be strong, to move on as quickly as possible. The performance culture has turned even mourning into a goal to be achieved, a symbolic deadline to return to normalcy. And so, we push the pain into the depths of the unconscious, along with everything it carries and could reveal to us. But repressed pain does not disappear. It transforms into symptoms, emotional blockages, and patterns of repetition that trap us in silent cycles of suffering. What we avoid now manifests later, with more intensity and less clarity. That is why Jung saw dreams as precious allies in this process. When the ego can no longer bear the weight of experience, the unconscious comes into play with its symbolic language. Dreams become channels of psychic elaboration, where what is unbearable in reality can be slowly digested in layers through images that carry deep meanings. In mourning, these dreams not only process the loss, they often offer comfort, closure, and even reconnection with those who have passed, in a symbolic dimension that challenges common logic, but resonates with a deep emotional truth. And that is what we will talk about in the next part, how dreams become messengers of the soul in times of loss, and how in them we can archetypally and transformatively reconnect with those who have departed. For Carl Jung, dreams are not mere random discharges of a tired mind. They are authentic expressions of the soul, symbolic attempts by the unconscious to communicate something that consciousness has not yet been able to articulate in words. And when grief sets in, when pain tears apart the fabric of everyday reality and dismantles the internal structures that supported our identity, dreams intensify. They become more vivid, stranger, more insistent. Not by chance. It is because, at this moment, the psyche is desperately trying to restore the psychic balance, disrupted by loss. It seeks, through dream images, to continue an interrupted dialogue with the meaning of life and death. Jung observed this deeply in his work, The Structure and Dynamics of the Psyche, as well as in his psychological commentary on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. He viewed death as a symbolic transition, both for those who depart and for those who remain. In this context, dreams become the arena where this transition is elaborated. Dreaming of the deceased, for example.
What up, though? What's good, though, Charles? This is Carl Jung. This is Carl Jung, but like it's under an AI voice, though. But yeah, though, what up, though, bro? Oh yeah, this is you're talking about how to deal with grief and loss. And the next one that I'm gonna do after this is gonna talk about confronting the shadow self.
Is not just nostalgia. It is an attempt by the psyche to symbolize the continuity of the relationship in a new form. The figure of the dead in the dream is not the literal deceased, but an archetype in transformation. It may appear as a guide, a shadow, a messenger, or even an accuser. Each appearance carries a profound meaning and should never be dismissed as mere nostalgia. During grief, it is common for the unconscious to summon intense images. Cemeteries, dark oceans, old houses, silent animals, distant voices. These images do not arise by chance. They are the symbols that the soul uses to process the loss. Jung believed that symbols are not meant to be explained, but experienced. They carry multiple meanings, and their impact lies precisely in what we cannot fully translate. When you dream of a presence watching you, or a door slowly closing, or someone saying something incomprehensible, pay attention. The unconscious is trying to show you what consciousness cannot yet bear to face directly. There's also a more subtle and powerful detail. Often, dreams reveal unresolved aspects of the relationship with the departed. Poorly processed conflicts, unspoken words, repressed feelings. In these cases, the deceased may appear not as a source of comfort, but as a call for forgiveness, understanding, and reconciliation with parts of yourself that were projected onto that relationship. Grief then also transforms into a journey of psychic reintegration. Because deep down, all the pain we feel from the loss of another is also the pain of losing a part of ourselves. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung recounts how dreams helped him navigate the death of his wife, Emma. He didn't limit himself to feeling her absence, he engaged in dialogue with her through symbols. Death didn't sever the bond, it merely transformed it. And it was in dreams that this new type of bond could manifest. This type of experience is not exclusive to Jung. Many people report having dreams of loved ones that feel more real than waking life. And in these dreams, they feel love, guidance, even relief. They are not illusions. They are symbolic manifestations of a connection that has migrated from the material to the mystery. But for these dreams to bear fruit, listening is required. Symbolic humility is necessary. It is not about interpreting hastily, but about allowing oneself to be affected by the images. Writing them down, reflecting, observing patterns, letting the unconscious speak without trying to dominate its language. Because in grief, healing does not come from logic. It comes from silence, from the symbol, from the image that visits us at night and forces us to feel what we avoid during the day. And it is precisely in this fertile and dangerous ground that something even deeper begins to emerge. The shadow. Because when we are vulnerable, when pain lays bare our defenses, what we have always tried to avoid within ourselves finally finds a way through. And it is in this encounter with the part of ourselves that we deny, hide, and even fear that grief transforms into a mirror of the soul. In the next part, we will dive into this inevitable confrontation, the encounter with the shadow. Grief has the strange power to strip us bare. It tears us away from commitments, social masks, and the distractions of everyday life, and confronts us with who we really are when everything crumbles. It is at this moment that the shadow begins to manifest more intensely. For Jung, the shadow is the collection of everything we repress or deny within ourselves. Unacceptable emotions, condemned impulses, truths we prefer not to see. During ordinary life, it remains hidden, operating in the background, projecting itself onto others. But in grief, when the structure of the ego is weakened, it rises to the surface. The pain of loss comes not only from the absence of the other, but from what that absence unearths within us. Suddenly, feelings that seem out of place arise. Anger towards the deceased, guilt for something that was said or not said, envy of those who are not suffering, resentment against God, against life, against oneself. Many try to stifle these feelings, ashamed for not conforming to the acceptable image of someone in mourning. But Jung warned, what you do not accept in yourself controls you. And in grief, this dynamic intensifies. Ignoring the shadow is to hand it the silent control of your psyche. Grief forces us to confront our powerlessness. It reveals how much we depended on the presence of the other to sustain our identity. Often, only in the emptiness do we realize that the person filled a space that is now bare, and what remains is us with our gaping voids. It is in this emptiness that the shadow whispers, look at what you have always avoided. Perhaps it is your own loneliness, perhaps a childlike fear of abandonment. Perhaps it is the realization that without that relationship you now need to reinvent yourself. The shadow brings harsh but necessary truths, and denying it is to waste the chance to integrate deep and forgotten aspects of oneself. This journey, however, is not a path of destruction. It is one of reconstruction. Jung did not see the shadow as an enemy, but as a portal. Confronting the shadow is the beginning of true individuation. It is when we cease to be merely what the world expected us to be and begin to discover who we truly are. Grief, as brutal as it may seem, offers this opportunity. It does deconstruct, yes, but it also reveals. And what it reveals may be the key to a new way of living. It is not easy. The ego will resist. It will try to rationalize, distract itself, anesthetize itself. But if you have the courage to remain in the discomfort, to listen to what the shadow wants to show, something within you will begin to change. A new center forms, more authentic, stronger, freer. And it is at this point, when the pain is no longer just pain, but also revelation, that psychic rebirth becomes possible. In the next part, we will explore this turning point, when grief ceases to be merely suffering and begins to transform into a profound process of healing and inner rebirth. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebook, Beyond the Shadow. It breaks down Jung's core ideas and gives you tools to understand yourself more deeply. Link is in the... There is a point within the grieving process where the pain begins to change form. It does not disappear, and perhaps it will never completely vanish, but it transforms. At first, it is raw, cutting, a weight in the chest that is hard to name. Over time, if you do not run away from it, if you allow yourself to feel it to the end, it begins to make space. And in that space, something new starts to emerge. Carl Jung saw this moment as the beginning of a psychic rebirth. It is not a return to normalcy, but the emergence of a new way of being in the world. More conscious, more rooted, more true. Grief has the capacity to completely dismantle our sense of identity. Who are we when that person is no longer here? What part of our story was lost with them? And what other parts, until now dormant, are being called to emerge? Jung believed that this identity collapse, as painful as it may be, was also a necessary movement. Loss forces us to abandon rigid identities, illusions of permanence and control. And it is precisely there that individuation can begin, when we stop seeking outside what can now only be rebuilt from within. In his autobiography, Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung movingly shares the impact of his wife Emma's death. It was not just memories or longing, it was inner transformations. He began to dream of her frequently, but not as she was in life. She appeared as a symbol, as a guide, as an archetypal presence that pushed him toward deeper dimensions of himself. Jung did not flee from the pain. He listened to it, he felt it, and more importantly, he allowed it to transform him. This psychic rebirth doesn't have a fixed script. For some, it emerges as a reconnection with the sacred. For others, as a change in life purpose. Some begin to write, to create, to help others. Some discover a strength they never imagined they possessed. What matters is not the what, but the how. Rebirth is not the denial of pain, but its assimilation. It is when we can carry the absence as a symbolic presence. When memory ceases to be an open wound and becomes fertile ground for new existential roots. But this transformation is only possible if there is surrender, not to passive resignation, but to the lived experience of suffering. The psyche, when respected in its language and time, reorganizes itself. It finds new ways to give meaning to life and death. The ego does not understand this immediately. It wants answers, dates, guarantees. But the soul works at a different pace, a pace that demands silence, listening, and courage to rebuild from what has been lost. And it is at this point that many people wonder, how can I help someone who is going through this process? How can I be present without invading? How can I offer support without trying to fix the other person's pain? In the next and final part, we will talk about this. How to truly stand by someone who is navigating grief, without judgment, without haste, and with the listening that the soul requires. Crossing grief is, above all, a solitary journey. No matter how surrounded we are by people, advice, messages of support, and words of comfort, the truth is that no one can feel for you. No one can descend into the depths of your soul and walk with your feet. But that doesn't mean we can't be there for each other. There is a presence that doesn't need words, a listening ear that doesn't seek to solve, only to embrace. And often, that is all someone in grief needs. Someone who has the courage to stay there, in silence, without trying to erase the pain, just to acknowledge it. Jung said that healing is only possible when the soul is heard, and listening to another soul requires more than superficial empathy. It requires real presence. It requires you to set aside the impulse to fix the suffering, and instead offer space for it to exist. Don't say, it will pass, because it may not. Don't say, everything happens for a reason, because there are pains that cannot be explained, only traversed. Say, I am here. Say, I don't know what to say, but I want to listen to you. Say, tell me what hurts. That is enough. That often is everything. And if you are the one going through this process, know that your pain is not weakness. It is a right, a psychic baptism that separates you from the life you knew and places you before the chance to be born anew, with more depth, with more truth, with more connection to what really matters. The pain is not destroying you. It is revealing you. So don't rush. Don't try to go back to who you were. That you is gone with the loss. But there is a new you being gestated in the womb of darkness. One that may see the world with different eyes. One that may become more compassionate, more sensitive, more whole. Not because you have overcome the pain, but because you have learned to walk with it. If this video spoke to you, if it touched something inside, comment down below, felt. Talk about who you lost, or about what this process has revealed about yourself. Something inside, comment down below. Write about what you felt. Talk about who you lost, or about what this process has revealed about yourself. Sometimes, writing is also a form of healing. And your story can help someone who is reading and feeling alone. And if this content touched you, don't stop here. The
All right. On to the next one. Let's get it. What's good? Eyes wide shut.
You have dreams, ambitious plans, an extraordinary future that you visualize clearly when you lay your head on the pillow at night. Perhaps you imagine a big project being completed, a stronger, richer, more respected version of yourself, finally recognized. You see yourself achieving everything that today seems unattainable, and for a few moments, you believe that this time will be different, that now it will happen, that you will make it happen. But the days go by, the weeks pile up, and before you know it, you are in the same place as before, with the same excuses, the same fears, the same emptiness hidden by cheap distractions. The project that excited you is abandoned. The goals that ignited you are forgotten, and that future you has become just another frustrated fantasy. And then comes the cruel thought, maybe I just don't have enough discipline. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe I will never succeed. But what if the problem is deeper? What if the reason your dreams never come true has nothing to do with discipline, focus, or luck? What if, in fact, there is a part of you that is actively sabotaging everything? A hidden, unconscious part that works against every attempt you make to move forward. And worse, does this believing it is protecting you. Carl Jung called this force the shadow. And if you do not confront this hidden part, Your dreams will continue to die before they are even born. Not because of the world, not due to lack of ability, but because there is an invisible war happening inside you. And you are losing this war because you don't even know it exists. Jung said that as long as you do not make conscious what is unconscious, it will control your life, and you will call it fate. It is not fate. It is self-sabotage, sophisticated, disguised, and deeply rooted in your psyche. The brutal truth is, you do not fail because you are weak. You fail because, at some unconscious level, you are afraid of what will happen if you win. Afraid of being seen. Afraid of being rejected. Afraid of discovering that you are not as great as you dream. Or worse, afraid of discovering that you are indeed great, and that this will separate you from everything you know. In this video, you will understand why your dreams do not come true, and how to confront the true enemy, yourself. If you are tired of starting and stopping, if you feel that there is something deeper pulling you back every time you try to move forward, this video is your mirror. But be careful, what you will see here may change everything. Because once you see your shadow, you can no longer pretend it is not there. Are you ready? Then take a deep breath and come with me, because now, the fight is against yourself. The greatest illusion you carry is believing that you are only what you know of yourself. What you show to the world, what you control, what you proudly call I. But what you call I is just the surface, the tip of the iceberg. Below that, hidden, lies a vast and dark territory that you have learned to ignore, and it is precisely there that the true root of your self-sabotage resides. Carl Jung called this territory the shadow, the unconscious part of your psyche where all the aspects of you that have been rejected, denied, or repressed throughout life are stored. Anger, envy, ambition, desire for power, selfish impulses, unresolved traumas, shame, fear, but also courage, leadership, greatness, genius. Everything that has not been accepted or understood, you have hidden in the shadow, and the more you try to ignore it, the more it acts in the shadows, silently shaping your thoughts, sabotaging your choices, undermining your dreams. From an early age, you were conditioned to repress essential parts of yourself. If you were punished for wanting to be the center of attention, you learned to hide. If you were told that ambition was selfishness, you learned to self-sabotage. If shining meant being rejected, you learned to fail as a form of protection. The shadow is not evil. It is protective. But it is a blind guardian. It acts based on the past, not the present. It protects you from dangers that no longer exist, with mechanisms that today only paralyze you. That is why you dream big, but live small. Because the conscious part wants to move forward, while the shadow pulls you back, and it will always be stronger as long as it remains unconscious. You may even try hard. Set goals, watch motivational videos, create planners, make checklists, repeat positive affirmations. But if inside you, there is a part that associates success with exposure, visibility with risk, achievement with abandonment, you will find a way to fail. And the most perverse part, you will rationalize that failure. You will say it wasn't the right time, that you lacked time, that an unforeseen event came up. You will convince yourself that the problem is external, when the enemy has always been within. And this enemy is not your enemy out of malice. It is your enemy because it is trying to protect you from something you no longer even remember fearing. That is why Jung stated that the encounter with the shadow is the first step of the individuation journey, the process of becoming who you truly are. You will not achieve your dreams if you continue to fight against an enemy you cannot see. But now that you know it exists, the question is inevitable. How exactly does this shadow act? How does it sabotage your projects without you realizing? How does it manipulate you into abandoning everything whenever you're about to move forward? This is what we will reveal now. And when you see the patterns, you will never be able to ignore them again. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support.
We are explorers.
And innovators. For your support. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times you were close to something important and simply let it slip away? It wasn't a lack of intelligence, nor of capability. You knew what needed to be done. You understood the value of what was at stake. And yet, you procrastinated, you forgot, you self-sabotaged, and then you rationalized everything with pretty speeches. It wasn't meant to be. I'm not ready. Maybe in the future. But deep down, something in you knows the truth. This has happened before. Carl Jung said that the shadow does not act randomly. It manifests through predictable and repetitive patterns, like a hidden script that you follow without realizing. These patterns are how the shadow protects you, sabotaging your evolution, your exposure, your growth. And the closer you get to a breakthrough, the stronger it reacts. Now let's expose 4 of these hidden mechanisms. And as you listen, pay attention. If one of them hurts, it's because it's active within you. 1. Fear of visibility. You say you want to grow, stand out, be recognized. But the moment you start to gain attention, something inside you locks up. You lose your rhythm. You avoid showing up. You disappear from social media. You postpone launches. And you don't understand why. The truth is that your shadow associates being seen with danger. Perhaps in childhood, being noticed meant being criticized, attacked, or humiliated. So now, every time your dream requires visibility, your psyche activates the defense. Disappear to survive. 2. Guilt for outshining others. If you come from an environment where no one around you achieved great things, where success was rare or viewed with suspicion, then achieving something grand activates a silent guilt. If I win, I'll leave them behind. You may not consciously realize it, but your shadow believes that fulfilling your dreams would be a form of betrayal to your original group. So, to maintain an unconscious loyalty, you self-sabotage. 3. Attachment to the identity of unrealized potential. There are people who have built their identity around being promising. They are that smart person who never had the opportunity, or the misunderstood genius. And achieving something concrete would put an end to that narrative. Because the dream, once realized, ceases to be a myth and becomes reality, with limits, mistakes, and criticism. The shadow then prevents you from acting because it prefers the fantasy of greatness to the reality of an imperfect achievement. 4. Fear of discovering your true limits. As long as you don't truly try, you can believe that you would be amazing if I wanted to. You live in the illusion that you are brilliant, just waiting for the right moment. But truly trying requires facing a devastating fear. What if I discover that I'm just good? Or worse, mediocre? The shadow prefers to keep the fantasy intact rather than risk confronting the truth. These patterns are not personality flaws, they are survival strategies, psychic defenses against something that, at some point in your life, was perceived as a threat. But now that you are beginning to recognize these patterns, the next step is inevitable. Where did they come from? When did your mind learn that success was dangerous, that shining meant punishment, that growing was being a traitor? In the next chapter, we will unearth the origin of your shadow. And when you see where it comes from, it loses much of its power. And that's where the real process begins. The shadow does not arise from chance. It is shaped, created, programmed, like a part of your psyche that learned, even in childhood, that certain impulses, emotions, or qualities were too dangerous to be expressed. And so, they were banished to the unconscious. Carl Jung saw the shadow as a mechanism of adaptation to the psychic reality of childhood. When you were small, you had no resources to question your environment. If crying caused rejection, you repressed sadness. If being ambitious brought punishment, you buried your will. If standing out made others pull away, you learned to hide. Not because it was wrong to feel, but because at that moment, in that environment, it was dangerous. And a child's mind does whatever it takes to maintain the bond, even if it costs your truth. Therefore, the first real step to deactivate your sabotaging shadow is to ask the question that few have the courage to face. When was the first time I learned that being myself was dangerous? This seemingly simple question has the power to open old wounds, but also to disarm mechanisms that have trapped you for years. Perhaps you were the talented child who was diminished because you overshadowed others. Perhaps you were the child who learned that you were only loved if you didn't disturb, if you didn't demand, if you didn't take up space. Or maybe you saw your father being punished for trying something great, and your unconscious decided that trying equals failing. Jung believed that the shadow is made of these unprocessed memories, subtle traumas, invisible conditioning, and the cruelest part? Often, you don't even consciously remember, because your psyche buried the memory to protect you. But the pattern continues. You still procrastinate, you still sabotage, you still retreat, because somewhere inside you, there is a part that still believes it is in the past, that believes growing up is dangerous, that being ambitious is selfish, that standing out is isolating. By tracing the origin of your shadow, you begin to distinguish what was true then.
Now you can Airbnb more than an Airbnb, like a chef to cook for you, or a massage for après-ski.
You begin to distinguish what was true then from what is true now, and that breaks the spell. You start to realize, I am no longer that vulnerable child. Today, you can protect yourself. Today, you can express yourself. Today, you can rewrite the story. But identifying the origin is just the beginning. Now that you know why your shadow exists, it's time to listen to it. Because Jung said, the shadow is not just a concept. It has a voice, and that voice needs to be heard. In the next part, we will delve into one of the most powerful practices of Jungian thought. Direct dialogue with your shadow, not as an enemy, but as a guardian of forgotten truths. And when it speaks, you will never be the same again. You can spend your whole life running from something that lives inside you, but Jung teaches us something that most don't want to hear. The only way out is through. After recognizing the patterns and tracing their origin, you are faced with the most challenging and transformative stage of the process. Looking into the eyes of your shadow and listening to what it has to say. Jung called this active imagination, a deep therapeutic method that involves creating an internal space where you can consciously interact with the figures of the unconscious. And among all these figures, the shadow is the most critical. But be careful, you are not doing an intellectual exercise. This is not about thinking about the shadow. It's about giving it form, giving it a face, giving it a voice. It's about finding it, not in books, but within yourself. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Imagine yourself in a symbolic space, a dark room, a forest, an abyss, and invite your shadow to manifest. It may appear as a human figure, a monster, a corrupted version of yourself, or something completely unexpected. When it appears, do not fight. Look into its eyes and ask, why are you stopping me from realizing my dreams? What are you trying to protect me from? What are you afraid of? And then, listen. Listen without judging, without interrupting, without trying to correct. Let it speak. What usually emerges in that moment is revealing. Your shadow may say, I'm stopping you from growing because when you tried to be yourself, you were punished. I'm afraid that if you are seen, you will be destroyed, like last time. I'm protecting you from failure because truly failing is worse than not trying. And in that instant, something powerful happens. You cease to be a victim of invisible internal forces and become a conscious mediator of your psyche. You take on the role of an adult, of an integrated self, of the commander of your own soul. Jung saw this process as a sacred ritual, the ego dialoguing with the unconscious, not to destroy the shadow, but to integrate it. You recognize that it acted out of protection, and you can now propose a new agreement. You say, thank you for protecting me, but now I can take care of myself. I am an adult now. I can be seen and still survive. This dialogue is not done just once. It is a practice, a relationship that builds over time. But with each new conversation, the shadow becomes less of a saboteur and more of an ally. And the energy that was once used to block your dreams begins, little by little, to be released to realize them. But this process is only complete when you take the next step, reclaiming from the shadow the qualities you buried along with the fears. Because the shadow does not only carry traumas, it also holds the powers you were conditioned to deny. And now that you have learned to listen to it, it's time to reclaim what is rightfully yours. In the next part, we will explore the forbidden qualities that your shadow protects, and how integrating them may be the key to unlocking the life you have always dreamed of living. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebooks. Beyond the Shadow breaks down Jung's core ideas, while Dialogues with the Unconscious gives you a 30-day path to apply them in your life. Both are linked in the pinned comment. You have been taught to fear certain parts of yourself, and the most tragic part? Many of these parts are exactly what you need the most to succeed. The shadow does not only store shame, pain, and trauma, it also holds your repressed power, strength, ambition, creative fury, authority, the ability to say no, the ability to say, I deserve. These qualities have been exiled because, at some point in your upbringing, they were misinterpreted by you or by those around you. If you were called selfish for setting boundaries, you may have buried your assertiveness. If you were told you were arrogant for believing in yourself, you may have learned to silence yourself. If shining made you lose love or connection, you may have concluded that being great is being dangerous. But Jung was clear. What you reject in yourself does not disappear. It only transforms into an obstacle. And as long as you do not integrate these shadow qualities, they will continue to act dysfunctionally as self-sabotage, procrastination, emotional outbursts, or paralysis. It is time to take a brutally honest inventory. Ask yourself, what qualities do I judge in others but secretly admire? What bothers me about successful people? What do I believe I cannot be to continue being accepted? Perhaps you need to reclaim the aggression that turned into passivity. Perhaps what you call humility is actually a fear of taking a stand. Perhaps what you learned to call kindness is just an addiction to pleasing to survive. Now list those qualities you have repressed. See how they appear in others, and how you condemn them. Then reinterpret. Give them new names. Reframe. Selfishness can be self-care. Arrogance can be self-assertion. Coldness can be emotional intelligence. Insensitivity can be strategic discernment. Ambition can be fidelity to your purpose. When you reclaim these qualities, you begin to operate more fully. You stop being half of yourself trying to be nice, safe, and accepted, and become a whole human being with light and shadow integrated, capable of acting with truth. And here is the most important point. Integrating is not about forcing these qualities to perform. It is about assuming their energy with awareness and responsibility. It is deciding that you can be firm without being cruel, visible without being arrogant, ambitious without being predatory. But the shadow, even after being recognized, may still resist. That is why Jung suggested we do something powerful. Make a pact with it. A negotiation between the conscious ego and the sabotaging unconscious. Like an internal peace treaty. And that is what we will do in the next part. You will write your own contract with the shadow, acknowledging its protective function, but finally taking the lead in your life. Because only when you honor the fear of the shadow does it begin to clear the way. You spent your life trying to overcome yourself, battling impulses, sabotages, and fears you couldn't explain. But now, after recognizing your shadow, understanding your patterns, tracing their origins, and listening to it, you have the opportunity to do what Jung called a conscious pact with the unconscious. No longer as enemies, but as allies. The shadow will not simply disappear because you understood its functioning. It was created to protect you. And as long as you don't feel safe, it will continue to activate the same mechanisms that keep you in the cycle of frustration. That's why you need to make a deal with it. A shadow contract. This contract is not a mystical fantasy. It is a conscious declaration, a commitment between you, the adult, conscious, and responsible part, and that archaic, wounded, and defensive part that still lives in your nervous system. And it begins with recognition. You write, Shadow, I acknowledge that you protect me when, describe the specific pattern. I understand that you do this because you are afraid of, describe the real, ancestral, primitive fear. Then, you thank it. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. You did the best you could with the resources you had. Thanks to you, I survived. And then comes the request for change. Now, I am an adult. I have resources I didn't have before. I can protect myself. Therefore, I ask you to allow me to describe the dream, the project, the step you wish to take. And finally, you offer something in return. Not as a bargain, but as care for what the shadow fears most. In return, I commit to describe an emotional self-care practice that that reduces risk to the system. For example, I promise to protect my boundaries clearly. I promise to embrace my emotions without judgment. I promise not to expose myself unprepared and not to seek external approval as an addiction. Sign this contract. Read it aloud. Reread it every day, especially in moments when you notice sabotage returning. This contract is a transition ritual, a powerful symbolic act where you make it clear who is in charge now is you. But know that this is not the end of the journey. The integration of the shadow is a continuous process, and the next step is as important as the previous ones. So, if this video awakened something in you, if it made you remember patterns, fears, or abandoned dreams, leave in the comments, "I see my shadow, and I am ready to negotiate." Write, declare, share, and keep watching the next video, because it brings another essential piece of this puzzle. And without it, the transformation remains incomplete. I'll see you there.
Yep. And this is Carl Jung. I hope everybody got like a message out of this, and shouts out to everybody. Hope everybody have a cool afternoon. I'm gonna be back later for the HHN special report. Hope you have a cool afternoon. Shouts out to everybody.